Story: my Uber driver took me to the wrong house. He didn't take a wrong turn. He knew exactly where he was going. That's what scared me most. I'm 24. I waitress 4 nights a week at a sports bar in Nashville, Tennessee. It's loud, it's exhausting, and by the time my shift ends around midnight, the only thing I want is to get home, shower, and sleep. I don't drive to work anymore after my car got sideswiped in the lot last spring. So most nights I Uber. Same routine every time. Clock out, change shoes, request the ride from inside the bar, wait near the entrance where it's lit and visible. I've done it probably 200 times without a single problem. I should have trusted it when something felt wrong that night. I didn't, and I'm still not entirely over what happened. It was a Thursday in late September. My shift ran long because we were short-staffed, and by the time I got outside, it was almost 12:45. The ride came in under 4 minutes. A gray Toyota Camry. The app said the driver's name was Marcus. 4.8 stars. I confirmed the plate before I got in, like I always do. He confirmed my name. Everything checked out. He was quiet, which I prefer. I put my AirPods in and stared out the window. I know my route home by heart. 12 minutes, 2 turns through the lit part of downtown, and then into my neighborhood. We made the first turn correctly. Then he made a second turn I didn't recognize. I pulled one AirPod out and looked up. The street was narrower than mine. Older houses. I didn't recognize it. I figured the app had rerouted him around construction or something. There'd been roadwork near my street for weeks. I put the AirPod back in. 2 more turns. Each one less familiar. I took both AirPods out. I looked at the app. The little car icon on the map was moving, but the route line looked wrong. We were not going toward my address. The GPS showed a destination I didn't recognize, a street name I'd never seen, in a part of Nashville I barely knew. I said, "Hey, I think the app has the wrong address." He said, "No, this is right." Just like that. Calm. No glancing back, no checking the phone, just, "No, this is right." My stomach dropped. I looked at the app again. The destination listed was not my address. It was not even close to my address. It was a location on the other side of the city in a residential area I'd never been to. I had not typed that address. I had saved my home address as a favorite. I always tap the same button. I have done it hundreds of times. I said, louder this time, "That's not my address. My address is on Raleigh Court. Can you pull over?" He didn't pull over. He slowed down slightly but didn't stop. He said, "The app shows this address." I held my phone up so I could see the screen clearly. The destination had my profile picture next to it. My name, but the address was wrong. Completely wrong. I said, "I need you to pull over right now." He said, "We're almost there." My hands went cold. We were not almost at my house. We were moving away from my house. I did not wait to figure out what was happening. I was not going to sit in that car and find out what almost there meant to him. I hit the emergency share button in the Uber app. It sends your location to a contact. I'd set it up months ago and never used it. It went to my roommate Jade. Then I called Jade directly. She picked up on the second ring. I said clearly, not quietly, "Hey, I'm in my Uber. Something's wrong. He's not taking me home. I just sent you my location. Stay on the phone." The driver's posture changed immediately. His shoulders shifted. He slowed the car. He pulled over. He didn't say anything for a second. Then he said the app must have glitched. He said he was sorry. He said he'd take me where I needed to go. I was already getting out of the car. I stood on an unfamiliar sidewalk at 1 a.m. with Jade in my ear telling me to stay in the light. I stayed on the phone with her while I requested a new ride from a different service. I stood under a streetlight with my back to a wall for 11 minutes until it arrived. I got home and sat in my kitchen shaking for a while. The next morning I reported it to Uber in detail. The wrong destination, the refusal to pull over, everything. I took screenshots of the map route, the destination that wasn't mine, the timestamp of when I hit the emergency button. Uber's response was that they'd look into it and that the driver had been flagged. They refunded my ride. A few days later, they told me the driver's account had been deactivated. They never explained how the destination changed. They said it may have been a technical error. I've thought about that a lot. A technical error that sends you to an unknown address in an unfamiliar part of the city. A driver who says we're almost there when you tell him it's wrong. A driver who only stops when you make noise and make it clear someone knows where you are. I don't think it was a technical error. I haven't used a rideshare app alone late at night since. I know that's an overreaction to some people. I know statistically it's safe. I know most drivers are fine. But I keep thinking about what almost there meant. What was at that address? Whether he'd done this before and someone else had just quietly gone along with it, too tired or too trusting to push back, I'll never know. Uber won't tell me. The driver is gone. And that destination address is still in my ride history. I've never looked it up. Story, my new roommate was not who she said she was. She had a reference letter, a deposit, and a perfect story. Everything checked out. None of it was real. I'm 29. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I've been renting a 2-bedroom apartment by myself for about a year, which is financially brutal in this city right now. I work in accounts payable at a mid-sized healthcare company, desk job, regular hours, nothing exciting. When my lease renewed at a higher rate, I started looking for a roommate to split the cost. I posted on a couple of Facebook groups, got some inquiries, and eventually found someone who seemed genuinely perfect for the situation. Her name was Diane. She said she was 31, worked remotely in marketing, had just relocated from Denver, and was looking for a furnished room while she got settled. She sent me her ID when I asked. She provided a reference from a previous landlord, a phone number I called, a woman who answered and said Diane was clean, quiet, paid on time. She had a cashier's check for the deposit and first month ready before we even signed anything. I did everything right. I thought I did everything right. She moved in on a Friday, 2 suitcases and a work bag. Friendly, normal, laughed at my jokes about the shared bathroom schedule. We had dinner together the first night, just takeout on the couch, and I thought I'd genuinely gotten lucky. That should have been the beginning of a boring roommate story. The first thing I noticed was the hours. I work 8 to 5. I'm usually home by 6. Diane said she worked remotely, but I never actually saw her work. When I came home, she was always just there, on the couch, on her phone, watching something, not on a laptop, not on a call, just present in a way that felt like she'd been there all day without a task. I mentioned it casually one evening, just asked how work was going. She gave a perfectly normal answer about a campaign she was finishing. I let it go. Then I started noticing small things being moved. Not dramatically, not in a way that screamed something is wrong, just small things. A mug I always leave by the coffee maker moved to the cabinet. My gym bag relocated from the hall to the coat closet. A book I'd left on the counter set neatly on the shelf with my other books, spine facing out like it had always been there. She was organizing my things, without asking, while I was at work. I asked her about it the first time nicely. I said I had a system, and I'd prefer she left my stuff where I put it. She apologized. She seemed genuinely apologetic. It didn't happen again for a few days. Then it started again. Slower, more subtle. Like she thought I wouldn't notice if enough time passed between incidents. That's when I started paying closer attention to other things. She never had any food of her own. In 3 weeks of living together, I never saw her buy groceries or order delivery. Things disappeared from my shelves gradually. Half a box of pasta, a few cans, some coffee. Not enough to confront someone over, enough to notice. She never had visitors. Not a single person. No calls that I heard. No friends mentioned. No family. When I asked about her life in Denver, she gave smooth, short answers that didn't invite follow-up questions. I'd lived with someone before. People have routines, quirks, evidence of a life. Diane had none of that. It felt like living with someone who was performing the role of a roommate rather than actually being one. 4 weeks in, I did something I felt slightly guilty about. I reverse searched the phone number of the reference she'd given me, the landlord who'd vouched for her. The number came back as a Google Voice number, a free VoIP line. not a landlord's personal or business phone, a disposable number anyone can set up in 3 minutes. I sat with that information for about an hour. Then I looked up the ID she'd sent me. I wasn't sure how to verify it, so I looked at the state and the ID number format for Colorado, where it was supposedly issued. The format was wrong. The number sequence didn't match Colorado's structure. I felt sick. I went back through everything. The reference, fake. The ID, likely fake. The cashier's check had cleared, which meant the money was real, but that meant almost nothing about who she actually was. I didn't know this woman's real name. She was asleep 20 feet from me, and I did not know who she was. I texted my friend Cara from my bedroom with the door locked. I told her everything. She told me not to confront Diane alone, and not to let her know I suspected anything until I had a plan. I called my building manager the next morning before Diane was awake and explained the situation. He took it seriously. He said I should contact police, and that he would pull whatever he had from her application. The officer I spoke to was direct. He said what Diane had done potentially constituted fraud, and that I should not tip her off. They sent someone to the apartment that afternoon while I was nearby waiting. When they ran her real name, her actual name, which they got through a process I wasn't fully explained, she had an active warrant in another state. Not Phoenix. Not Colorado. Somewhere else entirely. I was never told the details of the warrant. She was taken out of my apartment in handcuffs while I watched from the parking lot. My building let me change the locks that same day. I moved my important documents to my car and then to my office for a few days, just in case there was anything I'd missed. I went through every inch of that apartment, looking for anything she might have left, taken, or tampered with. I found a prepaid phone under the bathroom sink behind the cleaning supplies. No case, no charger. I gave it to the police. I don't know what was on it. I haven't taken a roommate since. I know I probably will eventually because this city is expensive and I'm not made of money. But I'll be doing things differently. The thing that sits with me most is the reference call, the woman who answered and vouched for her. That voice was calm and professional and convincing. Either Diane coached someone, or she played that role herself with a different voice, or there was someone else involved entirely. I never found out which. Story. The person messaging me knew things only my ex could know. The messages started friendly. By the third day, I was checking my locks at night. I'm 26, and I live alone in an apartment in Sacramento, California. I work as a dental receptionist, Monday through Friday, normal hours. I'm pretty boring, honestly. I have a small social circle. I don't go out much. I spend most evenings watching things on my laptop or on the phone with my mom. Nothing about my life should attract the kind of attention I'm about to describe. I'd been out of a relationship for about 5 months when this started. My ex, I'll call him Wade, and I had dated for almost 2 years. The breakup was my decision, and it wasn't a clean one. He didn't take it well. There were some uncomfortable texts in the weeks after, some showing up at places I mentioned being at. I'd blocked him on everything by the time month 2 came around and things had gone quiet. I thought it was over. I thought about him less and less as the months went by. And then someone slid into my Instagram DMs with a brand new account. The account was a week old. No followers, no following. One profile picture that looked like it came from a stock photo. The username was random letters and numbers. The message was short and friendly. It said something like, "Hey, mutual friends suggested I follow you, love your content. I get occasional weird DMs." I didn't think much of it. I replied with a generic thanks and forgot about it. The next day they messaged again, slightly more personal this time. They mentioned a hiking trail by name, a trail I'd posted about 6 or 7 months ago in a story that had long since expired. They said they'd been there too and asked if I'd been back since. I hadn't posted about that trail since. It wasn't on my current grid. They would have had to go back months in my history to find that one story before it disappeared. Or they'd known about it another way. I told myself they'd just scrolled my profile. People do that. I still didn't block them. That was a mistake. The messages continued daily, each one slightly more familiar. They started referencing things I'd never posted. My work schedule, the coffee shop I go to on Tuesday mornings, which I had mentioned to friends verbally, but never online. The specific route I walk my neighbor's dog when I help her out on weekends. I froze the first time they mentioned the dog walk. I had posted a single photo of the dog once, months ago, but not where I walked her. Not the route, not the neighborhood street. No one could know that route from my public profile. I went back through every post I'd ever made, every story, every tagged location. I could not find where that information came from. I stopped responding to messages. I didn't block yet because I wanted to see what they said next. I know that was stupid in retrospect, but I wanted to understand what I was dealing with before I shut it down. That's when the messages shifted. They stopped being friendly. The next message said, "You went quiet. That's okay. I know you're there." Then, an hour later, "You're wearing your hair differently lately. It looks nice." I had not posted a photo in 11 days. My hands started shaking. I went to my window and looked at the street. Normal afternoon. Cars, a couple of kids on bikes, a woman with a stroller. Nothing alarming. I closed the blinds anyway. I went back to the messages. I was looking for any detail that would tell me who this was. The next message came in while I was looking at the screen. "You used to tell Wade everything. Does he know where you are now?" I felt like the floor shifted. Wade. They said his name. They connected themselves to him directly. Either this was Wade on a fake account, or this was someone who knew Wade, someone he'd talked to about me. Someone who knew enough to use his name as a threat. I screenshotted every message, every single one. I went back to the beginning and captured all of it. Then I blocked the account and went immediately to Instagram's reporting system and submitted everything. I called my friend Bree and stayed on the phone with her while I filed the police report online. The officer who followed up the next day asked me about Wade directly. I gave them his full name, our history, the prior uncomfortable contact after the breakup. They said they'd look into it. They contacted Wade. He denied it. He said he'd moved on, that he hadn't contacted me, that he had no idea who the account belonged to. Maybe that was true. Maybe it wasn't. The account was already gone by the time anyone looked at it. Deleted. No trace. 3 weeks later, a different account messaged me. Different username, same 1-week-old profile, different stock photo. All it said was, "New account." I reported it immediately, gone within hours again. I've tightened every privacy setting I have. My Instagram is private now. Location service is off for every app. I don't tag places anymore. I don't post in real time. I've had no contact since. It's been 4 months. I don't know if it was Wade or someone connected to him or something else entirely. I've thought about every possibility and none of them feel resolved. The detail that stays with me is the hair comment. "You're wearing your hair differently lately. No photo." 11 days of silence from me online. Someone had seen me in person, and I didn't know it. I still don't know when. I still don't know where. And that's the part I can't let go of.